Welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I'm your host, Jeannie Hall, and I'm pursuing my dreams by helping you make your dreams a reality. I'm an author, blogger, podcaster, and life coach who hopes to inspire you to feel better, live happier, and go after your dreams with a vengeance. You can do it. Join me. Hello, and welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I'm your host, Jeannie Hall, and this is podcast 16, Success, 4 tips on how to be one. Today I'm talking about what it takes to be a success. Now, success can mean a lot of different things, but I think many of us equate success with freedom. And so what I'm going to specifically discuss on this podcast today is the freedom of being an entrepreneur. And the thing is, being an entrepreneur is all about owning your own business, and that can be very difficult. But anyone can become a success if they have the right tools. The most important of these tools is a success mindset. You have to believe you're going to be a success before you start out, or you're never going to get anywhere. So a lot of people who work outside of the home and they go to a job, they tend to be, a lot of us are in the corporate world, and we have set hours, and we have a boss who requires things to be done, certain tasks to be completed. And that's got its own benefits and its own drawbacks. But a lot of people just see that as whiling away their day, that it's meaningless, that it's all about getting stuff done for someone else, making someone else a lot of money, and we just wait around until we can clock out. A lot of people see working for someone else in that respect, and maybe you don't. Maybe you're very happy in your job, and you like your job, and you feel safe in your job, and that's great. But for those who want to go the entrepreneur route, most people who do this because they're not satisfied with working for another person, and they want something that's more maybe exciting, or maybe they just want to do something else. They want to do something that they feel is more fulfilling and more meaningful. Maybe they want to just be in charge of their own work life and their own days and have more freedom. But that freedom also comes with a price. And a lot of those people who start out in a work-from-home business tend to fail because they don't have the right mindset. As a lot of people, when I know so many people who, they go work for a living, they get their paycheck. That's the whole point, is to just, if it wasn't for the paycheck, they wouldn't work outside of home anyway. They wouldn't go to work. But you got, bills to pay, mortgages, car payments, maybe you have kids and doctor bills and all that kind of stuff. So you feel like that's the way to do it, is to go get money out by working. And a lot of those folks also look at work as being a place that they don't want coming home with them. They might want when they go home, they might just want to kick back and de-stress and not think about work. They don't want their home life mixing with their work life. And this might be a good idea, but nowadays, especially with the technology we have, corporations and bosses and other coworkers are more and more likely to text us at home, even on our off hours, even when we're not getting paid to do something for them. They are still texting and emailing, and it's actually becoming a pretty prevalent issue. So even though we might want to keep those two worlds separate, it's getting really, really difficult to do so in our current situation with technology and the way the workforce is working now. And sometimes the superiors at our job also expect us to drop everything when they call or text or email us with whatever it is. And so what needs to happen on our end is either we need to, if you have a positive mindset about that and you don't mind getting called at home on your off hours or getting texted or emailed, then that's fine. If you don't have a problem with it, then there's no problem. However, if you do have a problem with it, either you need to change your mindset about it and change how you think about getting those things, or if you feel like that's an infringement of your time, you might need to put a boundary with that person and say, look, I don't take calls at home. I'm not getting paid when I'm at home. Unless you are. If you are, that's one thing. But if you're not and you're still being asked to work from home, then you might have to set up a boundary. It's like, look, I'm not going to take these calls, these texts, these emails. Unless there's an emergency, you need to not call me or text me or email me. So you may have to really stand up for yourself and say, I'm not doing that. So that's just up to you. Depends on your position and your job. I know lots of people, because I'm a manager, I know lots of other managers and how that works. And sometimes I think people feel like because they've got a management position that they're required to do these sorts of things. And really they're not. It's up to you on whether you do that or not. And you can either let other people know, let your superiors know, or let your coworkers know, or whoever's contacting you at home all the time, that you don't want that and that you're not going to put up with it. Or if you are going to put up with it, you want to make sure that that's not stressing you out. And then if you're okay with it, then it's all good. Another thing is it's really for folks who want to switch to, let's say that, because of this, maybe this is stressing them out. And so they decide to leave the workforce and go into business for themselves and become an entrepreneur. Then you've got a whole nother set of issues, which is a lot of the time your home life and your work life are going to connect, because if you have an at-home business, obviously you're at home already, but you're also working. So how do you keep those two from colliding and entangling with each other, especially if you have kids or other family members at home at the same time you're trying to work? It can be a real challenge. However, if you are willing to be disciplined, and if you are willing to make sure other people in your home or whatever are willing to work with you on this, and you're willing to make a plan, you can still be a success even if you do have a lot going on at home at the same time. So let's say you just have to realize that a lot of your success isn't just about dealing with the different things at home or changing people's minds as far as contacting you or whatever, setting that kind of stuff up. But if you do leave and you decide to be an entrepreneur, the main thing you're going to have to be in control of is your own mind and your own mindset. Because if you're wanting to leave a job and be your own boss, basically you have to remember, you have to be your own boss. You have to be disciplined. You have to do what it takes to get things done. And productivity is the most essential thing, because really it's not about the time you put in as much as it is about your results. And one lesson life coach Brooke Castillo teaches us is that running your own business isn't about filling your day with a bunch of busy activities and not get anything done. It's all about the results at the end of that day. So you want to make a plan and you want to go forward knowing exactly what you plan to accomplish that day. And then at the end of that day, you can then mark each of those off as, yes, I did that, yes, I did that, yes, I did that. And you want to make sure that those, whatever those things are, they're producing the results you want. So you're not going to write down something like, well, I'm just going to play on Facebook for 2 hours. Okay, what is that accomplishing? What result is that going to get you? The result that's going to get you is going out of business, because you're not going to be able to make any money doing that. So unless it's something specific like learning how to do a Facebook ad or that kind of thing, you definitely want to make sure it's specifically related to receiving a result that's going to be beneficial for you. And it doesn't have to be a monetary result, but you would want something to help your business succeed. Positive outcomes. So, and it really doesn't matter. You can work 80 hours a week or 20 hours a week. There's lots of entrepreneurs who do both. It's basically up to you how you do your own business. But if you are productive in the time that you work, then it's very possible to work a lot less than you would for someone else, because you're still getting what needs to be done accomplished. And that's all that really matters. And since my own coaching niche is all about writers, if they lose their creativity or their muse, and helping them rediscover that, then let's talk about a traditionally published author. So a traditionally published author is someone who's going to have a publishing company, an editor, different people who are going to, maybe even an agent who is constantly on them on meeting deadlines because they have certain things they have to accomplish at a certain time period. So how many hours you spend writing doesn't matter as much as the amount of progress you make on your novel overall. So 10 pages, let's say, can take you 2 hours, or maybe it'll take you 2 days. But what you're really after is a completed writing project. So let's look at the other kind of author there is, which is the self-published author. And I'm talking about both because I'm both. I am both traditionally published and self-published, which is what we call a hybrid author. And there's a lot more of those out there because a lot of people have discovered you don't have to be traditionally published to still make a living writing if you do it right. So a lot of people, or maybe you want both so that you can have both the benefits of having a publishing company and their marketing and their professional editors and cover designers and all that kind of stuff behind you, and then maybe you also want to go out on your own for some of your writing projects and create your own self-published works. So I understand both of those situations very well, and I am both of those. So let's say this person, let's talk about the self-published person. This author, she's not going to have the publishing company or an editor or anybody else breathing down her neck demanding she turn in her novel by this date. She's going to have to depend on herself. So what she needs is more products to sell. In this case, it's going to be books, and she'll need to complete as many as possible, as quickly as possible, and at the highest quality possible. So no one's ever going to buy her novel or read it if it's rife with spelling mistakes and grammatical errors. People expect a certain quality in their writing, whether it's self-published or not. So you would definitely want to send out your best product, but that does take extra time for the editing and making sure you have a clean manuscript. So both of these authors, whether they're self-published or traditionally published, their objectives are to get the result of a completed novel, no matter what. But the self-published author is going to have to provide her own motivation and her own drive behind that. She's the only one who's going to tell her to hurry up. And the reason that having a positive or a success mindset, as we call it, and the reason this is so necessary is because our thoughts cause our feelings. So if you start to doubt yourself and you think, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough to do this, or I'm not smart enough to do this, you're basically losing your battle before you've even begun. So here's my first tip. Think positively and believably about your success. So you got to believe that you can do whatever it is you're setting out to do. If you start off doubting, then you're not going to get very far. Not that doubts don't creep up, but you're going to have to be willing to squash them whenever necessary. So whatever it is you have your heart set on, you need to believe in it with all of your might. What are some things, and so since thoughts are so important to control our feelings, what are some things you can say to yourself that might be believable, positive, and helpful instead of the things we just mentioned? So instead of saying, I can't do this, you might say, I can do this. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough to do this, you can say, I am good enough to do this. Or maybe, I'm not smart enough to do this. You can say, I can figure this out. Or I'm smart enough to figure out what to do. So it's all about creating a sentence in your mind that's both positive and believable, and then focusing on that. You're going to focus on that every day, several times a day, especially if you start to feel doubtful or you start to have problems with your writing. The first thing you've got to do is change your mindset into a positive, believable mindset. So tell yourself what you can do, not what you can't do. Tip number 2 is to take note of how you feel after you do that. Okay, so if you're saying these positive things to yourself, how does it feel? So let's say you say something to yourself like, I am good enough to do this. Let's say you say that to yourself, but it doesn't quite feel right in your body. Maybe you say that, but it kind of still makes your stomach hurt, or your chest gets a little tight, or your throat is kind of achy when you say it. Basically, it's your body, your emotions are responding to that sentence. that you just said, that you're trying to create a mindset around. So maybe that means that you don't completely believe that you are good enough. So that's something else that you'll have to work on. But in the interim, what you'll want to do is have a sentence that you do believe. So maybe you can say, I can do this, or I can figure this out. Even though I don't know what to do right now, I can find out how, or I can figure this out. That may be more believable to you than I am good enough, because some of us have self-worth issues and self-confidence issues. And if that's you, you may have to work on that separately. But you want to put that positive and helpful mindset, that helpful sentence, that thought in your head, and make sure that it's positive but also believable. So whatever sentence you can create that changes your mindset from doubt and fear into something that you believe you can do it, then that's the sentence you need to come up with. And then take note of how that sentence makes you feel. If you're feeling good, then concentrate on that sentence with all your might. Say it to yourself all the time, all day long, and keep going. And if you can do it even one step better, then do that. So let's say you can start out with, I believe I can figure this out. Maybe that's your go-to at first. And then you start to feel better about yourself, and you're building up your confidence, and you're starting to see more positive results from your mindset. Maybe you can change it to, I know I can do this. So you get even more positive. The more positivity you have behind it, the more powerful it's going to be. But it needs to feel true to you at the same time. So tip number 3, once you feel good, act from that inspired space. So as long as you're in a positive, happy space, these actions are going to help you to be in alignment with what you desire, in this case, a successful business or completing that novel specifically. So just make sure that your mind, first of all, get your mindset in the right place. Say a sentence to yourself that's positive and believable. Check your feelings. Make sure you feel good about it. And from that space, see what you're inspired to do. And one thing I recommend to do at this point as well is to be quiet with yourself so that you can receive that inspiration. Don't be saying positive things and feeling good and then go watch TV, because that's basically a waste of your positive mindset. What you want to do is then be quiet with yourself. Meditation's a great way to do that, but maybe you just want to go on a walk or something like that, something that's quiet, and then see what comes to you. Maybe make sure you have whatever you want to to record your thoughts when you're feeling inspired. So maybe have a piece of paper with you ready to write things down, or maybe have a phone with you with a notation app that you can just type it into your phone. That's what I do personally. Or maybe you have a recorder. My phone also has a voice recorder, so I can just record right then. Oh, try this. This is a great idea, and I'll just talk into the phone. Whatever way works for you to record whatever those inspired thoughts are when you have them. Because when you're in a positive mindset and you're in a real feeling good kind of space, that's when inspiration is going to come to you. And tip 4 is look for the results. So give yourself a certain time frame to start, certain time frames, just to help your mind kind of focus on something, because your mind will be all over the place unless you give it to something to focus on. So give yourself a certain time frame to start seeing positive results, maybe like 6 months or a year, or if you want it shorter, start looking for things in 2 weeks or a month or whatever. But give your mind some kind of time frame so it knows to look for things. And if you're being more productive, like writing more, for example, you're seeing more attention to your website, maybe you're seeing comments or more hits, more traffic, maybe you're seeing more sales of your products, then you're on the right track then. If you don't see these good results, now within 2 weeks you may not see those good results. Good results from these kind of things take time. So I'm not talking about those kind of results. You might not see, you may not be able to complete a novel in 2 weeks. You might, but you might not be able to. So don't pressure yourself and freak yourself out. But if you're looking for good results, make sure you're looking for them in a realistic time frame, and maybe put down something like that. It's like, let me see if I can get a few more Facebook people to like my page by this time, or whatever it is. Have a goal that's realistic and then watch for that result to come to you. Maybe it's just writing more, especially if you're an author, which was our original example. Whether you're self-published or traditionally published, what you're trying to do is complete your writing project. So maybe you normally only have this many pages in a week, and if you can double that, then that's definitely a positive result. So go from there, look for those results, and keep checking what you're thinking. And thoughts really do become things. That's something that comes from the law of attraction, and it's so true. And so to quote one of those teachers, Mike Dooley, make sure that your thoughts are good ones. So are you a writer struggling to see results like I just described? Sign up now for a mini session with me, and we will get you back on the road to success with my 6-week Rejuvenation for Writers program. So check that out. I'd be happy to get with you on a free mini session. We'll sit down, have a little talk, or we can email back and forth and see how I can help you. So check that out, and thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, week, month, and year. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. Go to writinginyourjammies.com to sign up for my brand new Rejuvenation for Writers 6-week comprehensive program to help writers reignite their creative sparks. You're just a free mini session away from becoming the amazing author you've always wanted to become. You really can be whoever you want to be. Thanks again.